freedom, pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dreams some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all.
So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time. Character does indeed matter. It affects every aspect of our lives. It is at the heart of many of our social and economic problems. And if we don't deal with it directly and we don't deal with it successfully, we're likely to continue to have some pretty hard times. The world is in some very trying straits right now, as most of you know. And, most of our relationships, unfortunately, are in trouble. Very, very few committed relationships, marriages last, endure, and thrive, and create the kinds of environment for our young people to grow in character themselves and become responsible young folks. And as the theme song that plays at the beginning of the program and at the end speaks to, the fact is that this country is built on the premise that if good people with solid moral compasses are left alone, if they're given the freedom, maximum amount of freedom, without government intrusive, that they can prosper and create opportunities for themselves and others, and build great societies, build great communities, build great nations. That's the foundation of our society. That's the foundation of any free society. But unfortunately, in the age of character disturbance, when character problems are so rampant, there's always the temptation to try and legislate our way out of the problem, and thereby restricting the freedoms of decent people. So I've made it my mission over the past 30 years or so to speak to this crisis, and toward that end, I blog at manipulative-people.com. That's www.manipulative-people.com. And also at Psychology, Philosophy, and Real Life at www.counselingwith2lsresource.com. That's counselingwith2lsresource.com. And I also have written 3 books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, the international bestseller, and also the best-selling book on character disorders, Character Disturbance, the Phenomenon of Our Age. And lastly, my book for the Christian faith community, the Judas Syndrome. And more books coming out next year, one of which is currently in press, and that is How Did We End Up Here? A timely look at how folks have gotten to the place that they've gotten in their relationships if they have happened to been involved with someone of disturbed or disordered character. It's also a look into how we got here as a society with regard to those aspects of our culture that seem to promote and even reward character disturbance. So I invite you to avail yourself of my work, and also to continue to tune in to Character Matters, where we'll talk about various timely topics. But it's the new year. I'm sure many of you are making those resolutions or trying to keep those resolutions that you've made to improve your circumstances, improve your lives in the coming year. And I hope sincerely that you're able to do so, and that you find in my work and on this program some support for those efforts. But if you have an issue you want to discuss, you have a question you want to ask, a story you want to share, just feel free to give us a call. It's a live program tonight, and I'm happy to take your calls at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Happy to take your call. I don't have that much planned to talk about tonight. I have a current series of articles on the blog. I'm going to be talking about some of the issues related to that. But I don't have all that much planned, so I'm hoping that folks who do have a question to ask or have a situation that they're trying to figure out and they need some timely advice, or maybe just a question or two that they want to ask, that they'll give us a call. And once again, the number to call is 718-717-8296. Well, it's been a whirlwind holiday season. I see we do have somebody calling in already. I'm going to try and take this call. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Welcome to Character Matters.
Yes. Now, are you Dr. Simon?
Yes, this is Dr. Simon.
Yes, just hold on, because I don't know how to put the volume down there.
Yes. Turn your volume on your radio down.
Yeah.
Okay, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but my volume is still on.
Yes, hello. Oh, okay.
My volume is.
Yes.
I phone in a few minutes. Sorry for that.
Okay. Yeah, if you'll turn that down, then we'll be able to
yes,
hear each other without that echo. Yeah, thank you. Oh. Seems like we lost the call for a minute, and so we'll wait for the caller to call back in, and then maybe we can connect. I was saying it was such a whirlwind holiday season for me. I don't know that it was the same for you, but we have had some phone problems tonight. I'm not sure whether that was the same caller trying to call in, but I'll wait until maybe the caller tries again. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Okay, I'm going to hang up on that caller, and then we'll see if that can. We're trying to patch that call in. Give me a moment, folks. Having some technical difficulty here. Okay, I'm not really sure what the problem is, but okay. Well, we'll just wait for the caller to try in once again, and hopefully we'll be able to connect. I'm not sure what the reason for the failure is here, but we'll see what we can do. Once again, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. And I sure hope that that we are able to fix these phone problems. I see that we have the caller who tried to call in is still connected in some way, and so they're not able to get through. And I'm not sure how to fix that. I'm going to work on it now just a little bit. Give me a moment here, folks. We should be live, I hope. And maybe the caller who had called before will be able to call in again, and maybe we can figure out what the technical difficulty was. If you're listening, caller, I think the problem is resolved. I hope so. And if you want to try and give us a call again, sounded like it was a long-distance call, sounded like an overseas call. Once again, the number to call is 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. When you do call in, folks, it's necessary to keep the volume on your radio down because there is a delay. So when you call in, you really need to listen on the telephone or whatever device you're calling in from, and not listen to your internet radio, because otherwise there will be this feedback and delay, and that will really mess things up. So that's just a word to the wise there about how to address some of these phone problems that occur from time to time. So, caller, once again, if you're listening and you want to call in, please give us a call at 718-717-8296, and then be sure that your volume is down on your internet radio or whatever source you're using, and listen only on the phone or whatever device you're calling from. I was saying earlier that the holiday time for us just flew. Many of you I may have been traveling. You may have had family in town for the holidays. You may have gone to visit folks. And I don't know how it is for you, but for me, every year the season seems to come upon us faster, and it seems to go by fast. And each year it gets a little worse in that respect. So I can't believe that the holidays have come and gone already. I can't believe that it's the new year already. And I'm going to be hitting the ground running beginning this month. I'm going to be doing workshops in the middle of each month. Yes, the caller is trying once again. We're going to try this one more time. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters.
It's me again.
Okay, we got you through this time.
Yes. Now, but you are not a doctor, are you?
I am.
Oh, I'm sorry because I don't know. Then that means that we are in the air.
We are on the air. That's correct.
Yes. You see, doctor, I admire you. I am from Minnesota, Minneapolis,
Okay.
and I found a lot of fascinating things with you. Yes, so many on the plate that I don't know where to start, where to talk, and then I would like to be able to contact you before until I put in order my brain, and then we can go through because it's so much going on.
Well, we'll do our best. Why don't you start at the beginning?
Yes, it's so many things, so many things. I found your talking fascinating, and it's amazing the amount of overlapping that we got in the way of thinking. You see, but I don't know if this comment that I'm doing now is appropriate for the other people to hear too. You see.
Well, I'm not sure what it is you want to comment about. What is it that you'd like to comment about?
Yes, about many things in life because I'm doing something similar to you in another level, okay? And I try to put my things together, and you arrive to so beautiful conclusions, and we are, as I say, it's a lot of overlapping, but I don't know if it's appropriate to do it on the air.
Oh, okay. So you want to contact me directly? Is that it?
Yes, and then we discuss it over the phone or over the internet at your convenience, and then after I call you then officially.
Okay. Well, let me just give you some information there, and this is good information for the rest of the studio audience. If you go to my blog at www.manipulative-people.com,
Yes.
if you go to the blog, there's a page on that blog that says Contact Dr. Simon. And
No. I got that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to contact you to there, and then how long is going to take you for you to answer, more or less?
Well, I tell you, I get about 50 emails a day. So that's a lot of mail, and I'm just talking about mail from people who want to contact me. So it takes me a long time to sort through that. Sometimes I can run as much as 2 weeks behind. Right now I'm running about 10 days behind. But I do answer all my mail. It's just that
I understand, but to find you is something so tremendously important that I would like if you I put a special title if you see mine, and then we can contact before and then after I can wait for 3 weeks, 1 month, whatever it is.
Okay, why don't you put in the subject line when you contact me using that contact feature, I'll get an email.
Yes.
Put in the subject.
No, I got it.
Okay. So
you tell me what to put, and then that it's me.
Yeah, put in the subject line that it was the caller from Sunday. Put Sunday night's caller.
Okay.
And I'll know that it's you.
God bless you. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I'm glad that the caller was able to get through, and I'm glad we were able to address that technical difficulty. I'm sorry that we had it, but I'm glad the caller was able to get through. And by the way, once again, for anybody who does want to, many folks have questions or concerns that they want to share, but they're not comfortable discussing the information on the air, and I understand that. So the best way to contact me is at my blog at manipulative-people.com, and there's a page on the blog that says Contact Dr. Simon. You go to that page. There's a little blurb there that tells you how to contact me. There's a space for you to write a note, and that shoots me an email to my private email, and lets me know that you want to contact me and what it is you want to talk about. And as I talked to the caller, as I advised the caller moments ago, I get a lot of mail, but I do answer it all. It's just that I'm often, unfortunately, at least a couple of weeks behind. And that's because there's just no way to filter through all the mail and triage it, so to speak, for how urgent or important some of the mail is. And the other thing is, I have a full schedule. So to adequately respond to folks, I don't have a staff that does this for me. I see we have another caller coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Hello and welcome to Character Matters.
Hi.
Hi.
So I thought I'd phone in and ask you a little bit about about narcissism, I guess, because that's what your article's a bit on lately.
Yeah, I've been writing a series, a new series on narcissism. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 20 articles on the blog on the topic. And of course, in both my books, I speak about it at length. But go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, what I'm finding is that I did not grow up with that word. I'm close to 50 years old. We didn't hear about narcissistic people, and I was married to a person that definitely was narcissistic, if not a psychopath, as I have been told by a counselor. But so I am finding, though, with the word narcissist, is that people, it's becoming, dummied down. Like people are, oh yeah, he's narcissistic, big deal. Almost is the attitude. And, I like that you refer to it more as character, and it's more about character, and we need to start questioning people's character.
Right.
But I'm finding now that narcissists is almost looked at as not a negative thing. Like, you have to look after number one sort of thing is, the society's kind of attitude now. And even people my age, they just sort of roll their eyes and say, oh yeah, well that's the way of the world now.
Right.
Our kids are going to be like that. But from my experience, there's no way in the world that I want my kids to live what I lived or to experience what I've lived. So I thought I'd see what you feel about the word narcissist and what you think we can do with our society to sort of direct.
Well, I'm glad you asked this question, and I hope you'll stay on the line for a bit because I'd like to follow up with you. But I'm really glad you asked this question. Have you read Character Disturbance yet?
Oh yeah, I've read everything you have to read. Now I can't quote everything, but I have read it all. I haven't read the Judas Syndrome.
So you're the one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Character Disturbance, I have those what I call 10 Commandments of Character Development. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that I really think are essential to teach our children if we're going to raise folks with the kind of character that makes relationships hold up, and makes for the great building blocks of society that we need. Right now, we have a culture, unfortunately, that doesn't just enable narcissism, doesn't just promote narcissism, but it actually rewards it. So, a basic behavioral theory is that if you reward certain kinds of behavior, they will increase. That's basic behavioral theory right there in a nutshell. You reinforce something, you're going to get more of it. So you reward a certain kind of behavior, you're going to get more of it. And we have a culture that A, enables, B, promotes, and C, rewards character disturbance of all kinds, especially narcissism. It's more than just the me generation. It's more than that. At the heart of the most destructive attitudes that we have right now in our society is this attitude of entitlement. This belief that basically people are owed just about everything, and that they don't have to earn, especially in the way many of us were once taught to earn, the kind of respect and the kind of good fortune that we seek. Most of us, there was a time when most of us were taught that the way to earn those things was to develop your own character, to be the kind of person that would basically be worthy of the respect and admiration of others, and to be the kind of person who put into the world enough of one's gifts sincerely for the greater good that one could earn a fair living and a decent life for themselves. It wasn't me first. It was basically, what can I do for all kind of thinking. And it was a different kind of thinking. That kind of thinking really needs to come back in big time. And,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What I think people don't really understand, and through my experiences with my, I'm in the middle of a divorce from a person that I would say, from the outside you can't tell, but he's evil. Like, it's evil. He's not a good person. He was a terrible person to me, and he can be a good person to people when he wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very insidious, it's a terrible thing to experience.
Yeah.
On an individual basis.
Well, let me ask you a question here, because you used the word evil. And, I've struggled with this for a long time because I am a person of faith, and I've tried to reconcile this with my psychological knowledge and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've come to appreciate, I saw some value in Scott Peck's book, People of the Lie, with regard to his treatment of evil. But that book was largely, by his own admission, by the way, a lot of hype. So there wasn't a lot of substance there. But what I have found at the heart of evil, and this is why I think the title of his book was correct. I just wish he had been more honest about the stuff he put in it, which he wasn't. And he actually admitted that later on. But the title was appropriate because where I think the evil lies is in the lie. And what I mean by that specifically is that folks with significant character disturbance, who most people sense a kind of evil lying within, are the folks who simply will not acknowledge. They deceive others and they deceive themselves. They won't acknowledge what they know to be their character flaws.
And do you think they for sure know that or do they? I mean, do they know it as a character flaw, or I believe that my husband sees it as a strength.
Yeah, well, and you see there, and there's where the key phrase that I use in all my training workshops comes in. Exactly, you said that they see it as a strength. In my training seminars, I use these little rhyming phrases, like they see, but they disagree. Mm-hmm. In other words, they see what people, they know what others would hope they would do with regard to shaping up their character. They know what other people might regard as a flaw. They know this inside out. They see just fine. They disagree, however. They disagree about, they lie to themselves and they lie to others about the flawed nature of what it is in them that needs fixing. They simply disagree. They simply say, I like the stance I'm taking. I like the way I do things. I like the person I am, and I'm going to continue to do things this way. So it's not that they don't see. It's not that they don't recognize.
Oh no, he knows. He knows that he's an ass.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, but he knows that he's a jerk, and he's proud of it.
Yeah. The other little rhyming phrase I use is not just that they see but disagree. I also use the phrase they're aware but don't care. In other words, especially when you're talking about one particular type of narcissist, it's not that they are not aware how others might hold them in some disdain or disfavor, but they don't care.
No.
They don't care what you think. They're not going to let that impact them. And unfortunately, when a person is that sick, character-wise, really only fortuitous circumstance, or if you're a person of faith, you might say the grace of God can fix that, and that is the person has to hit some kind of rock bottom. In other words, they're
But they don't. How can they?
Their world basically has to come crumbling down under the weight of their own grandiosity.
Well, I used to sort of refer to it as somebody needs to take him out back and teach him a lesson to within a thread of his life, and then maybe he would see what was right in front of him.
Yeah. Well, it's not that it's not that he doesn't see. It's not that he doesn't see.
I guess.
And you you don't wish ill on anybody. But sometimes that's what it takes. The people in the 12-step programs have known this forever. Sometimes you don't take that first step toward health until you're defeated. Sometimes the very best thing that can happen to an impaired character is coming face to face with personal defeat. And so even though we don't wish pain or harm or suffering on anybody, sometimes that's just what it takes. It's unfortunate, but that's what it takes to break a stubborn sort. And character-disturbed people are stubborn sorts. Like I say, it's not they don't see, it's that they disagree. And it's not that they're not aware, it's that they don't care.
But okay, given that also, but like I know in my situation that they say they project themselves onto others or whatever. And
that's an old notion, and it rarely applies.
Well, he talks about me like I have all the things, like I did all these things.
Right, and I'll tell you what that really is. See, we used to say that is the old theory. Let me explain exactly how ridiculous this old theory was. Here's the theory in a nutshell. I'm going to boil it down so it's really more understandable.
Okay.
The thought about projection was this, that the person in their own good conscience knows that what they are doing is abhorrent. So they can't live with themselves to think that they would be such a person. And because they can't live with themselves, and because it causes them so much internal pain and discomfort that they can't bear it, they use this primitive defense mechanism of projection to cast onto you something that they couldn't bear to admit exists in themselves. Well, as anybody that's lived with a real character-disturbed narcissist knows, it's not that they can't bear it. As a matter of fact, they'll own these things with pride. They'll own these characteristics with pride and say to you quite clearly they wish everybody were like them or thought like them or did things like them because they think they've got the answer. So this whole notion that we came up with is just, it sometimes happens, but it happens so rarely that most of the time it's rubbish. So I'll tell you what's really going on when they do that kind of stuff, when they start blaming you and like that. This is a tactic to justify themselves and to maintain a good image and do their best to what we call impression manage, while at the same time bringing you to submission or getting you to back down or making you doubt yourself and doubt your judgment about them and their character. That's
Well,
what it is.
I mean,
It's
I have
attack.
no contact with him at all. It's the rest of the world he's telling these things about me to, and he's not a good person, and it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, the things he says about me, but he can't stop himself.
Well, he
So-
can't. He can. There's a big difference between can't and won't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it does totally make him look like the good guy, right?
Yeah.
So that I'm with you. He's making his position as to where he sits in the world.
Yeah. And this is, what you were talking about here is something I mentioned to the other caller how many emails I get every single day from folks. And what you're talking about here is something that so many folks have written me about. And that is when they go to get help and they hear these crazy perspectives and theories on why people are behaving the way that they're doing. And they hear terms like projection and acting out and all this stuff that is really a lot of malarkey in our character disturbed age. It was a perspective that was meant for a different age and time and was barely useful then, but it's not useful now. So people go for help and they try and get someone to understand what's going on and try and get some help to repair a relationship that's going awry. And what do they find? No help.
No, it does make it worse because I did that and with him and I was very closed-lipped. I tried not to sort of put it out there because if I did, he would just eat it, spit it out, and destroy me even more.
Yeah.
He would use whatever information I gave and twist it into some crazy thing that crazy making is true. It was a narcissist.
Yeah.
And that's a term I didn't know until after he was gone. And then it explained all the times that I'd say, I don't even understand how that conversation became what it was or where that came from. I don't even understand
Yeah.
what just transpired.
Right.
And I did that hundreds and hundreds of times before I ever came across the word crazy making.
Let me tell you another crazy thing that some psychologists and some other right now I'm a psychologist, but we have a whole host of people doing therapy out there, from marriage and family counselors to certified substance abuse counselors to nurse practitioners to licensed professional counselors to clinical social workers to other kinds of social workers. We got everybody and their brother hanging out a shingle as having a credential to counsel people, and you will hear crazy things like you will hear folks say that when they're using this twisted thinking or when they're engaging in these distortions and whatnot, you'll hear these counselors many times simply ascribe to the person that they really believe this kind of stuff, that they really believe this malarkey. In other words, that they sincerely believe what they're thinking or what they're saying, even though they're incorrect, that they really believe it. And what I have found is that most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, they don't believe this garbage. They just want you to believe it so that they can continue to manipulate you, so they continue to have the upper hand.
So when you've counseled people, this is what you found, is that it's a tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I confront it. And I will tell you that 9.95 times out of 10, they will eventually acknowledge that it's a bunch of garbage.
Well, how do you get, I'd say, how come, we went to marriage counseling, and I would say, why don't you call him on anything? I just don't get it. The things he does are ridiculous,
Well, I'll tell you why they don't. And
You said he'd never come back if I did.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. There's two things. See, traditional therapists are trained in two areas. They're trained to get people to come back week after week for talk therapy. Okay, and it's a sign to them of being a poor clinician, of being not skilled. If people basically are run off in some way. So if you can't basically hook them in some way and keep them coming back, then you're not a good therapist. This is the thinking. The other thinking that's so destructive these days and causes what I call therapy-induced trauma, which is what it sounds like you experienced. You went for help and things only got worse, and you got frustrated because the therapist didn't seem to get it and wasn't helping at all. The other thing that happens is that in traditional therapy, therapists are taught that you don't confront the person with their tactics and whatnot. What you do is you don't make any judgments. You meet them where they are. You let them process. You basically give them the ball and let them direct. Well, when it comes to character disturbance, this is like giving a 2-year-old the keys to your new sedan.
Yeah.
When it comes to character disturbance, you can't entrust the character disturbed person with the power and the authority to direct the process, because you know what they'll do? Just like a 2-year-old with the keys to the car, they're going to crash it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to drive it. Not responsibly. And it's irresponsible for a person to give a 2-year-old the keys to the car. And it's just as irresponsible for a therapist to give the driving wheel to a character-impaired person in the therapy.
Okay, so you're actually, by using the 2-year-old analysis, I'm going to tell you my feelings about a narcissist. It's immaturity. They're immature people, and I had, my brother said to me, Leanne, I shouldn't probably say my name, but anyway, I knew when I was 17 years old that an immature person, a person that did immature things and did not think of other people's feelings, and they might be goofballs that do dumb things, but if they were immature in things that they needed to be mature in, then they were never going to be anything but immature. And, he said, I'm in my 50s now, and those same people make bad choices and are immature.
But now you've spoken to the very issue that is the heart of the unique kind of therapy that I had to develop to work with these kinds of folks. Mm-hmm. This is how it works. Basically, in engaging with these folks, like I said before, you have to confront. You have to confront the infantile, dysfunctional behavior. However, there is an art to doing. It took me 30 years to refine this art. Mm-hmm. There is an art. There is an art to basically encouraging people to grow up, to try out some new, more mature, more adaptive ways of functioning and reinforcing them for doing that. It's like kind of raising a person all over again because they didn't get raised right the first time. And it's a whole different kind of therapy. And that's why I'm going out on the road again, starting in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to do training workshops all across the country, and I hope to train as many clinicians as I can. And I'm going to basically be laying out for them, how do you go about this? Because everybody out there who's doing therapy is seeing more and more character disturbance. That's what we deal with these days. Pills won't fix it. The medical profession spent years and years and years trying to convince everybody that there were no such thing as character-related problems, that everything was a matter of one's biochemistry, and therefore nobody was at fault for anything. and that all we needed was the right pill to fix the right biochemical imbalance, and everybody'd be fine. They spent a fortune. They spent millions and millions of dollars.
That was driven by the drug companies, too.
Well, it wasn't just the drug companies. It was the profession. I have the journals of the American Psychiatric Association. I have those journals. This was a deliberate effort to save the field of psychiatry. They wanted to wrest it away and distinguish themselves and get psychiatrists making the kind of money that all the other physicians of should we say, more honest repute were making. And so therefore, they made a very big push to and ran ads. They ran a lot of ads, basically saying that the problems that we thought were character related are not so at all. It's a matter of biochemistry. It's not the person's fault. And you really shouldn't be seeing anybody else because only we understand it and we've got the drugs to make it better. Well, how's that working out? 30 years into this, people popping pills left and right, ODing, having suicidal ideation, everything else. And guess what? Character problems abound still. Yeah.
But, I have a 20-year-old son. He just had a New Year's Eve party, and there was a group of kids standing around the kitchen discussing their antidepressants and their anti-anxiety medication. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
No.
Yeah.
This
is insane.
It's more than insane. It's reprehensible, and the field has no one but themselves to blame for it. It's a disgrace, but it will not stand. It will not stand. People are getting wise to this whole thing, and people are getting sick and tired of paying good money. I get hundreds of emails a year from people who have gone the route of having somebody maybe once, twice, maybe even 3 times in one of these expensive rehab programs, only to go through hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes and get no results. This model, this medical model, will not stand. Character does matter whether or not we want to see it or not.
Because I know from I have been through hell and back with my marriage, and and my divorce. I always kind of had this. I kind of always knew that it was easier to be on the inside than on the outside, even though I was abused in every sense of the word abuse. I knew that being on the outside would be even more hell.
Yeah.
So, and it has been. But I have never taken any medication. I tried it, and I don't want to be just coping with something. I need to actually deal with this, and I need to actually. And I know people that it has helped them, and it has put their perspectives in a better position, and in a better light for them. But for me,
well, here's the good news about that, and you probably already know this for yourself. But as you learn to cope on your own, you're building your own character. You're strengthening your own character in the process.
Yeah. I think I had character to begin with. I think that's why he chose me, so to speak.
Perhaps that's a large...
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's why. I embodied the things he didn't have in his life and in the things. I've kind of come a full circle with understanding all that because,
So he used you well.
What's that?
So he used you well.
Oh yeah, I actually it's kind of interesting because the same brother, I have a couple of brothers and they're both pretty good guys, but the one brother also said to me, "Don't go to get a bunch of counseling." He said we all came from the same family. He said he's the problem. Yeah. You don't have all the problems that counseling wants to tell you have. Yeah. You just married a jerk.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
And and maybe you should have seen that the apple wasn't going to fall far from the tree, but you didn't, and so don't spend a fortune on counseling.
Well, I'm so sorry that you had what I call the therapy-induced trauma experience, and I'm also glad that you recognize that you had character to start with, and you're probably solidifying it day by day as you learn to cope better and better. I just want you to remember one thing, however. Nothing really endures or increases unless it's reinforced. So when you're doing all that you can do to cope and you're doing your best to learn and grow, make sure you give yourself that internal affirmation or pat on the back for all those efforts, because they really count, and we all need that validation. So
I was going to ask you something. Now you're going across the country doing. I'm actually phoning from Canada, by the way. But you're going across the country doing all this training and trying to put your word out there.
Yes.
Now, is there not a team that you can kind of build to help you send your message out?
Well, that's
there's got to be a lot of other people now that are starting to see things more your way.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build a team of like-minded folks. I get on the order of 1,200 to 1,300 requests a year for referrals to people who get it. And I don't have a referral roster. First of all, back in the old days when I was doing some training and I did have some folks, folks move, they change, they go back to old ways, they forget the perspective. So it was really hard to keep up. So I get asked this all the time. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this again. I've had some health issues that have sidelined me for several years, and I'm kind of in enough good health now that I've got this in me to do. I'm going to do a year's training for professionals, and then I'm going to try and do the same for lay folks.
Because I feel that in my future, will be speaking about, because it goes hand in hand, like a full-blown narcissist or psychopath, as I've been told by that marriage counselor. He feels he probably was a psychopath. It goes hand in hand with a lot of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And healing from that has not been a easy thing, because as you understand, like as you say, the lies, the evil is set in the lies, and to understand all the deceit and lies and
right. So I don't want you to discount what I gave you there. It's really important. It sounds trite, but it's not. You need to really make sure that you give yourself those internal affirmations for every effort that you've had to make to cope and grow through this whole ordeal. I know that people of decent character just want to take these things for granted. Don't take them for granted. Make sure you give yourself that internal affirmation for every single upstanding act that you've taken to learn and grow and profit from your experience.
I try.
Okay.
There's lots of backwards. You go one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah,
it does exist.
Yes, but in the end, you get there. That's right.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you want to try to get the general population talking this way, because I tell people about you all the time, because I think people need to hear it from somebody that they think is reputable, and qualified. And like you say, there's millions of different types of counseling, but you actually have the paperwork behind you, so it is helpful.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I just hope my health holds out and I'm able to continue my work. And maybe I'll see you at one of my workshops sometime.
Yeah, if I can ever work that in, I definitely would do that.
I really appreciate your call. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Well, that was a great call, as so many of the calls have been on this program. Yeah, I would encourage folks who want to know more about narcissism and all its folks, take a trip on over to manipulative-people.com. The many articles there, but the caller was right. You really have to be grounded in this stuff. And my three books, In Sheep's Clothing, Character Disturbance, and the Judas Syndrome, they lay out a framework. I have more people tell me this than anything else. Once they see a framework, once a professional lays out for them what's going on in our society and why, what's causing relationships to be such a mess, why people are so dysfunctional. Once they get it within this framework, even though it goes against all the things that they came across when they tried to get help in one kind of therapeutic venue or another, once they get it, it changes everything. Once someone affirms, once someone with credentials affirms what they already kind of intuitively know, it changes everything. So I would encourage you to get the books as well. They give you the grounding by which you can really benefit even more from all the articles online. Well, it's a new year, folks. 2016 is going to be a very busy year for me. I'll be on the road a lot. I'm going to do my best to be available, barring any travel complications, for every program live, so that I can take calls and so I can discuss the timely issues of the day, and so that I can network with the audience as best as I can. I appreciate you more than you know. I hope to see some of you as I'm making the rounds. As I spoke to the caller earlier, I am confining my workshops this year primarily to professionals. Lay folks can attend. They even can participate. Unfortunately, these workshops are structured much differently, and they're much more expensive because professionals are getting CEUs. So they're not going to be as user-friendly or as fee-friendly as the workshops I plan to do for the general public the year after. But after I finish this round of training workshops for professionals, I'll be doing some for the general public. And I hope to see some of you out there at some of the workshops. I hope you avail yourself of my books, and I hope that you pay a visit to the blogs, both at manipulative-people.com and at Counseling Resource. That's counseling with 2 L's resource.com. Well, my wish for you for the coming year, if you're in a relationship that is dysfunctional, I would encourage you to avail yourself of the tools that you can, and that's why I have all these resources out there to empower your lives, make a difference. Life is too short. And if you are one of those folks who has suffered therapy-induced trauma, as the past caller was, where you tried to get help but didn't, and maybe only felt worse, I hope you find the resources to give you what you really need in the way of support. And I hope that for all of you, it's a healthy, prosperous new year filled with a lot of joy and personal empowerment. And I hope you'll continue to support the program and tune in again next week for another edition of Character Matters. I'm Dr. George Simon. I'll be talking to you then. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.